Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. With over 1,000 NCAA commitments, the EHL is the proven path to college. Turn it up and learn more about the college placement leader at the Division II and III levels.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, "We take care of our own," as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 77 of the E-Show. And on this week's episode, we cross off another Original Six team in the Walpole Express. Over the course of the first 8 seasons in the EHL, the Express lead the league with 124 NCAA commitments to date. Included in that total are 27 commitments combined between the past 2 seasons. Cody Campbell is busy preparing for his 3rd year at the helm for Walpole, and the 2019-20 EHL Coach of the Year feels great about where his program is at. To wrap things up, the E Crew puts together another strong all-time lineup. I'm joined now by Cody Campbell, the head coach and general manager of the Walpole Express. How's it going, Cody?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Neil.
He's also my guest for my member guest tournament coming up at Atkinson. And Cody, this is the first question, nothing to do with hockey, but what is the wager between us for whoever gets more points in the tournament? If you get more points, what do I have to do?
You have to call a Walpole Express game of my choosing this next season.
I'll figure out what the case would be if it's the other way around. But I will admit, I have admitted this on the podcast before, Cody is the better golfer, just so everyone can hear that. But let's get into the hockey now. As we look back on the 2020-21 season, obviously a very difficult year with everything we dealt with because of the COVID restrictions and whatnot. What positives can you pull out of it?
I think as a organization, as a league, as a whole, there's a lot of positives. We were able to play very consistently throughout the course of the season, and there were obviously shutdowns and quarantines and so on and so forth. But to be able to make it through such a crazy year and crazy season as last year was, and still help. I think another record-breaking number of players get college commitments from our league. It's a real testament to the league itself, and I thought our organization handled the COVID situation really well as well.
And your team got to play some other opponents early on. I want to get to that in a second, but obviously as the season progressed, you became the Massachusetts division. And I guess from your perspective, though, with the previous history of coaching in the North American Hockey League and how the play in that league stays very consistently within their division, did it feel like the same for you when looking and comparing the two?
Yeah, I mean, it was familiar. It obviously the biggest difference is playing just in the Mass division last year. Our longest trip was an hour, whereas longest trip in the North American League, even though it was within our division, was 12 hours. So definitely felt familiar, but obviously the travel wasn't much different, and it needed to be that way to keep our players on the ice and keep giving them opportunities to be seen by schools and ultimately accomplish their individual goals of earning college commitment.
And for your team, every program schedule played out differently last year. For you actually were able to play 10 games by November 1st. Obviously, that had a lot to do with where Massachusetts was at as a state, but those 10 games were all outside the state. There was 2 in Maine, and the rest were either in New Hampshire or in Connecticut. When looking back, having the ability to play those 10 games the way that you did, do you think that benefited your team?
Oh, the first 5 didn't. But it was nice. I thought it was important for us to get on the road early and be around each other, maybe a little bit more than you would be if you were just at home or playing up the road at, the Wizards or somebody like that. So I do think there's benefits to that, but like I said, I 5 games into that stretch, I probably would have told you much differently.
Well, you guys, for those that don't know, that the Express started last season with a record of 0-4-1 in those 5 games. I, on this podcast, said that had a lot to do with your opponents that you were playing. Was that similar to the message that kind of was being talked about in your locker room, or did that not matter?
No, it didn't necessarily matter to me. We did end up playing, teams that finished. I mean, geez, I think out of those 5 games, four of them were against teams that were in the finals. So it's a good measuring stick to play good teams early in the season, and ultimately, we were very young in terms of returners and guys that had played in the league previously, to start the year, with only 2 guys coming back from our team the previous season. So there wasn't a whole lot of thought into we played these guys, it's all right to lose a couple, and we got spanked a couple times, but I think it helped us in the long run, and ultimately I believe that we had a pretty good group here, and it just takes time to figure things out, and the players to get comfortable in our routine, because it is different from other places that they'd come from and that kind of stuff. So there's a learning curve there, and unfortunately we got it figured out after that 5th game.
And after that 5th game, you went on to win 8 straight. But what stood out to me was the first weekend, I guess you can say, back in Massachusetts, you shut out the Wizards 2-0 and 4-0 on back-to-back days, a home-and-home series. Was it in that moment that you realized, all right, we wrote the ship, we actually do have a pretty good team this year?
No, I don't think it was just a singular moment or weekend or anything like that. It was just a culmination of guys continuing to believe in each other and believe in the process that we have here, and just get on the same page. And like I said, I thought going into the season we had a talented group, but it was nice to see things, kind of the light bulb go on pretty much everybody in the group's head that weekend with what we wanted to do structure wise defensively and then offensively as well, and kind of start to put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
And you said one of the biggest positives of last season was to get the chance to play a full year and still help players advance on. And in 2 seasons now, if you're looking at just NCAA commitments, you have 27 in 2 years there with Walpole. Obviously, there's been players that have moved up the junior hockey ladder as well that we're going to talk about. But of those 27 commitments, they have moved on to 17 different NCAA programs. What do you credit that, I guess you can say, variety to?
A lot of it has to do with the league and the exposure that the league provides to our players, and then I think a little bit of it has to do just with the network that I have in the Division III world. Obviously, dealt with a lot of Midwest schools at the places that I was previously at, and we're able to put guys on some of those schools' radars that aren't out here as frequently, just due to the sheer distance between where those schools are and where our league plays and stuff. But that would be kind of, I think, part of the variety. And then the other part is we just really try to focus on making sure that the players is finding the best fit for them academically first and foremost, and then athletically as well.
And I guess there's one program that sticks out amongst the rest of all your commitments, and that's Gustavus. And you've kind of created this pipeline, if you will. I think you got 5 or 6 players that have advanced on to Gustavus. Is that just the connection that you have with that coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, the associate head coach there, Roy Dinan, is a good friend of mine, and somebody that I trust, and he trusts my evaluation of players, and I think I have a pretty good handle on the kinds of players that fit in well to their program and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely it's a little bit different. Obviously, there's some programs that kind of have a team or handful of teams that they send a good chunk of kids to, out here on the East Coast. So it's a little bit different being that school's in the Midwest, but it's been a really good fit for, like you said, 5 or 6 of our guys here in the last 2 years.
And in those commitments, there were a couple players that actually committed from your first year with the program, in Cole Cavey and Matt Tallarico, that had the chance to come back and join you last season just because of everything that was going on. When those players reached out and basically said, Coach, we're not going to play in college this year, is there a spot to come back? How do those conversations go?
Well, we first off, we want to make sure that everything academically is going to be okay with those players, and Cole was able to take a semester off of not fully off, but basically a semester off, and then Tally was able to continue at Stonehill with his course load, and then jump back into our lineup. And I think both those guys will greatly, I don't know if improve is the right word, but their quote unquote freshman years next year will be just that much better, having another 30 games of junior hockey experience under their belt.
And I want to talk more about some of these players that have moved on, because as I mentioned before, it's not all to the NCAA ranks. You've had players move up to junior ranks. You look at Cal Mel, who climbed up to the NA. You look at Zach Simon, who I'm sure has a great shot to climb up to the NA. For players like that, when they first arrive and that they have more years of junior left and they have aspirations to climb up, do you point out the connections that you have at the NA level to help them get there?
Definitely. And that's a family decision. That's a personal decision that each players make. And, in Cal's case, he was pretty set on going the Division III route after last season. And we had a really good conversation around Christmas time where, to be honest, I believe Cal's a Division I player, and I told him that, and I told him that if he is able to crack the North American League and put in a solid year or 2 years even at that level, he's going to give himself a really good chance to play at the Division I level. And fortunately, it's happened to work out for him in terms of having a good season with Janesville and the NA, and getting selected to the top prospects showcase that they just completed here this past weekend. And I know that I've gotten a handful of calls from Division I schools asking about Cal and how he was in his time here with Express. So it's definitely something that we look at. I think it's a benefit to our players that I have pretty good network in the USHL and North American Hockey Leagues, having previously coached in those leagues. And I also think that at the end of the day, it has to be, again, the right fit for the player and what they want to do, not only athletically, but academically as well. And there's been other guys that have maybe had that opportunity to take a step up, but they've wanted to get their education started and stuff, and we've been able to find good Division III homes for them.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Zach Simon next year for a second because he has a chance to play in the NA next year as well. We won't talk about fantasy as much, but you kept telling me early on in the year, you got to pick Zach Simon. You got to pick Zach Simon. When I did, it worked out pretty damn well, we'll say. What did you see in his game that you realized, this kid has the chance to, be the forward of the year like he was?
I mean, he first and foremost, he is one of the most competitive, most tenacious players that I've ever been around. He played. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but from December on, he had a broken wrist and played through that and was still able to do what he did for us down the stretch and was rewarded with being forward of the year. So he's just a hockey player and in kind of every sense of the word. He loves the game and some of his best assets are obviously his skating ability and his speed and then second to that is his hockey sense and ability to make plays and create time and space for himself and for his teammates. But he did it all for us. He was probably our top penalty killer. Yep. Played a gigantic role on our power play and played a ton of minutes 5-on-5 as well, both, when we needed to rely on him offensively and when we needed to rely on him defensively. So he's a pleasure to coach, that's for sure.
And there were so many moments from this past season that I look back and stand out. But for some reason, there's always going to be this goal that he scored at the Wizards where Braden Patricia collected the puck just inside the blue line and gave this no-look backhand pass to Simon. And I don't know how he even saw him, but it turned into a breakaway goal. And I just remember that goal and thinking to myself, Patricia just got here, and they already have this chemistry. But Braden started this past season with the Protect Ducks and then joined you for the second half. How big was that addition to your lineup in your locker room?
It was big. I mean, Braden again, it gave Zach gave him somebody that with a similar hockey IQ to play with, and Braden gave Zach somebody with a similar hockey IQ to play with, and when you get two players that process the game as quick as both of them do and can see the small little plays such as the one that you just talked about and are able to execute them, that's when you get goals and plays being made like that. So yeah, it was pretty fun to watch those two play together here for the second half of the season.
And we covered some of the forwards, so let's work backwards now because defensively you guys were pretty stout as well. I can't talk about every single one of them, but I want to talk about Todd Philibert because you were able to bring him in kind of based off the year that it was. When you had the chance to add a defenseman like that to your lineup, was there a sense of almost shock or was it just excitement?
Yeah, I mean, just nothing was shocking last year. Just based off of what it was. But we were obviously really excited. I had seen Todd play, multiple times throughout the course of the previous year when he was in the North American League. And he's another player that played in the NA Top Prospect Showcase. And yeah, he was at this level, he was just phenomenal. Again, his hockey sense stood out. His ability to create offense from the back end stood out, and he was a big part to the success that we had this season as well.
And then when you shift all the way to the furthest end in the back, you get to the goaltenders. In 2 years, you've had one of the top goaltenders in the league each year. Tobias Falkenstadt the first year, Mason Palmer this past year. Having those anchors at the very end of the ice, I should say, how important has that been to your team?
I think it's the most important. It's how we go about building, our roster each year. And you know, to have recruited those two guys, and as well as Eric Buckholz, and just been really solid between the pipes each of the last 2 years. That it allows for those growing pains at the start of the season, and knowing that you have a guy that can correct mistakes in net, and ultimately, I think it's the most important piece of winning games towards the end of the season is goaltending, and we've been fortunate to have really 3 really good ones here over the last 2 years, and hope to continue that trend here.
And I'm not sure if this is going to become a debate when it gets to be Jeff and I's turn with the all-time lineup, but let's put you on the spot, I guess, for a second. If you had a Frozen Finals game tomorrow, a must-win, and it was between any of those 3 goaltenders that you need to put in net, which one would you pick?
You could flip a coin or flip 2 coins. All 3 of them are completely different in style. All 3 of them have shown over the course of their seasons with us that they have the capability to win big games. And the best part about all 3 of those guys is their calm and their calming influences back there, all in their own way, but they're all calming influences on the back end, and just having goaltending like those 3 guys provided just gives the rest of the team an added sense of confidence to be able to play going forward, and not have to worry about trying to, obviously we try to limit chances as much as possible, and I think that plays a role in how well that our goalies have done here in the last couple of years. But to have that confidence, knowing that if you make a mistake and the puck goes either way for a grade A chance, we've got guys in the cage that can make saves and like I said, correct mistakes. I feel completely comfortable having any of those 3 guys in the net to win a championship.
That's a good answer. So then looking forward, this season coming up is going to be your 3rd year with the program. When you first took over the Express, have this always been a program that has placed kids consistently throughout the years? Being one of the original 6 teams in the league, the Express actually have the highest total, 124 NCAA commitments in the 8 years. Was there pressure that you felt when you first took the job, and do you feel any pressure still today?
There wasn't pressure in the way that you mean pressure. When I took the job, there was internal pressure from myself to obviously it was my first crack at being a head coach. I believed that I could do it and do it well and help kids accomplish their goals of playing college hockey. So there was internal pressure on, from myself to do a good job and help players get to the level that they wanted to get to. And also I'm a pretty competitive guy. I like winning. So there was internal pressure to make sure that we, put a good team on the ice that was able to compete and win hockey games. Now I think there's more pressure internally because we have had success and it's become, something that's expected here. Not necessarily from anybody that's outside of our locker room. But we expect to have success. We expect to place a bunch of guys into college or higher levels of junior, and we expect to win at this point. So I think as a coach, there's all, if you don't have, whether it's outside pressure or internal pressure, you're probably not doing the job the way it should be done. So definitely feel like we need to keep building and continue to get better, because as a program as a whole, we're not satisfied with where we're at yet.
And if I had to make any predictions, I would say you are definitely one of the contenders to punch a ticket to the Frozen Finals this year. Walpole has never been to the Frozen Finals, so I'm sure that's at the top of your list of your goals for this upcoming season. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Looking forward to the member guests coming up as well, and enjoy the rest of the off season.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me on. Make sure you get some practice in.
Thanks again to Cody Campbell for coming on the podcast this week, heading into his third season with the program. Won the Coach of the Year after his very first year, and as I mentioned, he's already got 27 commitments in 2 seasons. 28 actually has to be coming soon with Todd Philibert as well. But with that, let's bring in Jeff Mills now. And Jeff, we got another original 6 team this week.
Yes, we do. Choo choo, the red train, here they come. A lot of happy people that want to hear this this week's Team of the Week feature.
So the previous original 6 teams that we have done, just to refresh everyone's memory, we've done the Little Flyers so far, the Rangers so far, and the Rough Riders so far. So this is number 4 of 6. The other 2 are the Apple Corps and Warriors. Those are the 6 teams that have been in all 8 seasons of the league. The Wolves and Wizards, as we mentioned, have been in 7 years. So they're almost original 6, but
almost an OG. Not quite.
When it comes to these original 6 teams, obviously they have history prior to the EHL, but they just have so much history in the EHL that it makes our job that much harder. So do we want to work from front to back or from back to front?
I don't know. What did we do last? Last week we had that awesome interview with Dave Starman. Got to plug that. That was phenomenal. And everyone, please go check that out after you check out this week's episode, of course. So I don't know. I don't know what we did. I feel like we've gone like forward to D, because I don't know. There's a lot of goaltending choices.
Goalie is going to be so hard.
That's going to be fun.
So why don't we save goalie to the end? We'll start.
Okay.
We'll start forward. Forward. And there was
you're just saying, this is tough because Walpole has, for all those people at home that don't know, they were an AJ team before we turned into the EHL.
Yeah.
So there's some names on here that we just kind of talked about quickly that we can't really include because they weren't part of the EHL. If we go all the way back to the early 2000s, I mean, I can name you guys in the Walpole Stars because I grew up in Norwood, in the town of.
And imagine
Stars for the Express.
Imagine if we were doing Coach, right? And we had to pick between Cody Campbell, John Lounsbury, Chris Sorella, and Mark Kumpel, right? like my phone would be like, boom, boom, boom. Why didn't you pick me? Why did you pick me? It's
right.
Like I can't.
McGrath was there for a little bit with Sorella.
So we're not touching the coaching side of things. But we'll start with the forwards. There was a couple of comments last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, on the Wolves one about leaving Chris Peters off of it, but he didn't spend that much time with the Wolves.
Lots with the Express.
When I think of Chris Peters, I think of the Walpole Express. I think of 2 years with the Express. Like the last year, he literally played in all 54 games for them and had 93 points. Like
he was one of their only like historical like points getters as far as when you look back at their team. They were a team. They've always been a team that's had a lot of depth scoring guys, just not the high point scoring guys like Peters was. But yeah, Peters lit it up for sure. And you do definitely. I agree. I remember him more as an Express than a Wolf.
Nothing against the 20. What did he have? 25 in 35 games with the Wolves. But I just remember Walpole more. Right. And over the course of his entire EHL career, 175 points and 139 games is pretty darn good. So
is that good?
that's how we set the bar to start the forwards, right? That's where we get things started. And then there's so many options.
There's a lot. There's new and old. Like this is one of those first teams where I feel like we've gone through some of these older teams and the other funny thing when you go with the OGs, if you will, Neil, is you get to the point streak websites that we see, and that's how you know you're an original team. When you weren't even on. What's the new format we use? I forget.
It's Sports Engine, which is funny.
Sports Engine, that's right. Yep.
Like I helped bring the league to Sports Engine when I got into the league, right? That was my first season, 2015-16.
Give it a facelift.
The 2 years prior was Point Streak.
Point Streak was okay.
It was okay.
We'll leave it at that. It was okay.
It's a different look. It's a different look. But at the top of each Point Streak roster, if you will,
there's one name
for the Express was Frankie Cephalou, who played for the 2013-14 Express and 2014-15 Express. I mean,
he's another easy one to include.
It sounds like significantly less compared to Peters, but he had 126 points.
still pretty damn good.
So we got 2 guys so far. And then we go back to my conversation with Cody. So we're jumping all over the years, right? We kind of started in the middle with Peters. We went to the beginning. I have to just be completely selfish here and go to Zach Simon.
Oh man, I had like an over-under in my head. I'm like, how long until Neil puts Zach Simon? And once you put Zach Simon on, then I'm gonna go with my boy Lorenzo Marcolin from fantasy. Gonna throw him on there too.
And
love Renzo.
I gave Cody all the credit for telling me early on to pick Zach Simon, whatever week that was in October. Obviously, the rest is history, as they say, right? And Simon was last year's forward of the year in the EHL, has a really good chance to play in the NA this year. For Marcolin,
good for him.
He had 26 goals last year. That was towards the top of the league in 40 games. Honestly, he's going to Wilkes this year, but he's only an 0-1. Like, could you imagine if he wanted to come back for another season as well?
Please do. I'll take you first pick, Lorenzo. It'll be Zach Simon from last year, buddy. He was a huge power play guy, Renzo was, and they were machines. And then once they got Patricia to move in there, see, he's a name that he wasn't there long enough to call. Unless, I don't know, did Cody say something about? I mean, like they chime in and say who they want and who they think should be on there, but
we have that hybrid position, Jeff.
The utility, that's right.
But Marcolin, we've talked so much in my interview and right now about Simon. Marcolin, it almost felt overshadowed. He had half of his points, Jeff, were on the power play.
Yep.
21 points were on the power play, and he had 8 game-winning goals.
And remember, no extra points for hat tricks, Neil, but you do get extra points for power play goals and assists. So
and game winners.
He was big and helped me with that. And game winners, which he had 8 of, not too bad.
So we got 4 forwards so far: Chris Peters, Frankie Cephalou, Zach Simon, and Lorenzo Marcolin.
Ooh, how about a guy that we talked about? I think we talked about him last week, just like off the air, and he's got quite the lineage, quite the hockey name. Daniel Ruzioni.
Yes.
Does that ring a bell to anyone at home? Mike Ruzioni?
If it doesn't, then you don't like hockey.
You're not an American. You don't like hockey.
So
he was one that was a quickie, but he was damn good.
Yeah, so Ruzioni is obviously Mike's nephew.
Yep.
And he spent just a single season in the EHL 2015-16, 47 points in 46 games. Then played a year in the NA with Craig Doremus, who was a former EHL coach for the New Jersey Titans. And then now I think he just graduated actually from Salve. So went on to Salve, which has historically been one of the top programs in the CCC. Yep. I'm blanking on which year it was, but one of these years while at Salve, they reached the national championship game. And we watched it in Providence. I want to say it was
18, 19?
Yeah, it was. Well, we've only been to
Providence.
Only been to Providence twice, right? It's either 17, 18 or 18, 19.
Well, Neil, was it 19, 20? I'll tell you that. You can cross that one off your list. So
I just remember there were like 11 EHL alumni on that Salve team that went to the title game, and he was one of them. So that gives us 5 forwards so far.
Fun fact, I work with Daniel's brother, Vinny, at Bentley now. So we're all still involved with the Ruzioni family. Vinny, or a Bentley Falcon baseball player, now works for the Bentley Falcons athletic staff. So good family.
Yes, I would say so. Hockey family.
Very much. They eat, sleep, and drink hockey. I'll tell you that.
So most of you know that I keep the screen share going as we are talking through these Team of the Week features. What's
Yep.
throwing me off with this screen share right now, or the stats that I'm showing to Jeff, is it's got all of the years of the Express
Yep.
combined. And we're trying to focus just on the EHL because of the fact that they've been in the EHL for 8 years. So if you're looking for just EHL, right, we go down to Larry Nyland. He was an all-star for the EHL back in the 2018-19 season, I believe.
And another Elmira guy. We love
Yes.
Elmira in the EHL.
He spent 2 seasons with the Express, 76 points in 78 games. Almost every guy we've mentioned so far is either clearly a point per game guy or like right there on the fringe of being a point per game guy.
Yeah, which kind of blows me up because I feel like they've never had. I mean, I guess they get into low scoring affairs. They've never had guys that like lead the league like Peters did that one time. But
yep.
I mean, even the Lounsbury years, they would have, comfortably guys in the 30, 40, maybe 1 or 2 in the 50s range. But I mean, they've gotten the job done. They've been a good team, and what a job Cody's done too. I mean, since he's been here, just too quick. It feels like he's been here for a while. Being here for only 2 years seems like that's not true, but
I would agree.
He's done an awesome job and just bought a house in Lincoln, Rhode Island. He's not too far from me now. Not too far from the Rod.
And you know where he's not too far from either.
Golf course?
Snyder Arena.
Oh,
so
this is true.
He could be the host, if you will, for our
hotel for Codester if he wants to get in next year. Could be like me, the no hotel crew.
And like you've kind of mentioned how it's surprising for you to see where some of these point totals kind of stand. It's surprising for me that in 3 seasons of the finals that Walpole hasn't reached the Frozen Finals yet.
Yeah,
right. They haven't had their first birth yet in the Frozen Finals, and maybe
we were pulling for them last year. They were close.
We were very divided on the podcast as the year went on. We really put our flags in the ground for different teams, and you bled Walpole Express red, right? You were just all in on Walpole Express down the stretch.
I tried. I did. I was pulling for the boys so hard. I had the pleasure of calling majority of their playoff games thanks to you, and they were good ones. They were just a little bit short, but I would expect them to get there. Like we talked about too with the other Team of the Week features. Them and the Wolves are 2 teams that you would expect they keep doing what they're doing, make an appearance sooner rather than later.
I would agree. For the next forward I got pulled up here, I got Eric Lipa, who was on the 2014-15 and 2015-16 to keep with this barely or just under a point per game trend. He had 77 points in 84 games. Began his college career at Oswego, but then ended up at Salve, as he was one of those players that was part of that team that went to the national championship game. And that gives us 7 forwards so far. And we've done a good job, I guess you could say, of bouncing around the years.
Yeah, we definitely we haven't gone too heavy. I mean, we got Simon and Marcoline from the freshies, from the newer teams. And then we got Peters and some other. And actually, the cool thing too is Lipa and Ruzioni played together in Walpole and then got to play together. That's a common theme we've had too with the EHL guys. That's awesome too, because that's for the colleges. It's great. You automatically have the forward line chemistry. You know where guys are going to be, and it creates a nice, easy transition. Not that it's easy to transition into college hockey, but makes things easier.
Yes. And there's going to be a D also that played at Walpole and then played at Salve, but we're going to get to the D once we finish the forwards.
A tease, a little broadcast tease for everyone. Follow along.
All those names we mentioned, by the way, look at this player's name. Terry Watt, current coach of the Pro Tech Ducks. Forgot that he played there. Now,
I did too.
Terry never played in the EHL. So if Terry asked afterwards why he's not in the all-time lineup, it's because he didn't play in the EHL. It was still the Atlantic at that time, right? But could you imagine if we had I don't know if we could have this. I don't think we have any coaches or head coaches that played in the EHL. I don't think that's happened yet.
No, I don't think so.
But we're getting
getting there?
We could be, right? Like, because we're heading into season number 9, right? So we're now working our way through, a few waves of kids that have gone through college and then maybe had a short pro career and then are getting into coaching. So maybe that's coming soon. Maybe.
Well, we have one of the Purdue boys with Coach Zanaboni.
This is
an
true.
assistant for the Seahawks.
So
he's starting, but he's very young.
Yes, just no head coaches yet.
Right. And Cody's our youngest head coach, and holy heck, he's not even 30 yet, or he just turned 30? He's 29.
He is 29.
Yeah,
I didn't even cover that. My question should have been so pointed and easy, Jeff. I should have said,
Cody, you're a baby. How have you done this?
I should have said, what is the best day of the year? Every year, February 25th, because we share the same birthday as well.
Oh, that's right.
That was a very easy question. I should have put on a tee for him.
That's why you guys are made to be best friends. Same birthday, love golf, love hockey. It's like, geez, we just become best friends?
Yes. Oh, so
you're absolutely stepbrothers.
We're working on the final 5 forwards now, and there's, as we have mentioned, so many options to choose from. A couple that
back to the newer teams. I don't know.
There's 2 that stand out for me. There's from my beginning of my time in the league, and there's from Cody's first year. So my first year in the league, there was a player named Kaiser Ray who played for the Express, and he put up 57 and 48. So he's on the other side of the point per game argument that we've been having, right?
I remember him from the showcase. He was fast. He was a little guy, right? Wasn't he a smaller, like kind of diminutive type forward?
5'9".
Yeah, 165. Yeah, not too big.
And he began his collegiate hockey career at Skidmore, then moved on to Stonehill, who didn't get a chance to play this past year, but in the season prior, which was the 2019-20 season, Stonehill won the NE10 championship. So he was a part of that championship team. So we're going to put Kaiser Ray
on this
list.
And then who's your newer guy that you were thinking of?
Newer only spent a season there, but it was a good year for Jonah Hildreth.
Yep.
Which was Cody's first year with the program. 42 and 44 was the 2019-20 season, and now has moved on to SUNY Cortland. Unfortunately, hasn't got the chance to play a game there just yet. That's what's going to be great this fall. We're going to have so many players playing in their first college game, right? When you factor in all the guys that didn't get a chance to play last year, and then all the guys that are just heading to college this year, right? Yep. It's like double the list.
It's going to be quite the beginning of the season for all of us. We're all going to be like, whoa, what is this? Showcase? What do we do here? Huh?
The best is, we're going off the rails here for a second, but we always do.
It's all good.
So this is going to be Joe Bertagna's first chance to see a showcase, right?
Oh,
and he's got to ask me like some questions so far. What are they like? And I'm like, long,
very long.
like our first showcase is 4 days long, and it's EHL and EHLP, but. What I always say, Jeff, you got to put the smile on for the first game in the building and the last game in the building.
Yep, exactly. Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey, you know what? It's gonna be awesome to see these college coaches again. They've already started reaching out that they've marked our dates in their calendar, so they're all excited about it.
Yep, they're probably already asking what will be served for lunch on day 1, day 3. Oh, what arena are we going to? Oh, Robin, what do we usually get there? Oh, usually get that. Why don't we do this? Oh, it's like, oh, geez.
So we need 3 more forwards now, and as Jeff pointed out, I think we've done a good job of balancing, the new and the old,
back and forth.
And there's so many good options still.
There is.
There's really are so many good options.
So another guy I had on my list that I was looking at, Neil, you tell me, was Tim Lopez. He was with Hildreth from the 2019 season. Almost a point per game guy, 43 points in 45 games. Forget if he was was he a multi-year player?
He was just a single year.
Another single year.
2019-20. He's great to have here because he gives us a plug for that Gustavus Adolphus pipeline that I did ask Cody about. And it actually tees up a story time for when Tim Lopez scored the game-winning goal for the Express at Stoneham Arena against the Rangers and
Mm-hmm.
snapped the Rangers' winning streak in 2019-20 at 15 games. It was, as I mentioned, overtime winner. I was there for the call, and as we were walking out, we actually walked out together, Cody, myself, and Rich, and like that's the best part about this league. The coaches like when the puck is dropped, they want to win like anything, but they'll walk out after the game together, like arms around each other, like they're friends, right? Like
yeah.
And Rich was like discouraged. I had this like discouraging look on after the game. Obviously, he had lost, but he still got a point in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody was kind of like, what's wrong? And Rich is like, just disappointed that our streak snapped. And Cody's like, you had a winning streak going? And Rich is like, we had won 15 straight games. Cody's like, I had no idea. So then, of course, we get in our car, and I'm it's like clockwork, Jeff. I'm like looking at my phone. I go, who's going to call first, Cody or Rich?
Rich.
Of course, Rich called first, and it goes, how did he not know that? And then he starts going off about how Cody didn't know that. And
is
then,
he kidding? Is he being funny?
He hangs up, and then Cody calls, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And before he even gets a word in, he's already in tears laughing. Because, of course, he knew they had won 15 straight games, but he just loved getting under Rich's skin like that. It was an awesome moment. It was an awesome moment.
That's one of the best things about Cody is you never know when he's being serious, joking. They're all the same tone, the same facial expressions where you're like, is Cody kidding? And then he'll like kind of give you that smirk with like the eyes like,
I think
he's like one even way.
It was
that's
so
when he gets
funny,
mad.
though.
When Cody gets mad, he
Yes.
he can lose his temper.
It was such a funny moment though. Like it was awesome.
I remember that. I remember you telling us about that when you were leaving. I thought that was the I didn't know if that was the infamous Rich DiCaprio clipboard smashing. I thought that was against the Chiefs.
That was against the Chiefs.
Yep.
So, oh man, what a moment that was.
Good times.
But Tim Lopez scored that game-winning goal.
There we go. Back around the horn. Timmy Lopez. Thank you for that memory.
That gives us two forwards left here.
Ooh. So we go one old, one newer, one middle. Oh man.
It's tough, right? It's because there's been so many good players over the years. I think that we've covered the early seasons, I guess you can say, enough.
Yeah.
And 13 and 14, so we've kind of narrowed it down from there. I mean, but there's so many good options. I remember Joe Hall, my first year, was excellent for the Express.
Dylan Carabia was another one that's played.
Well,
actually, he was a D man.
He was a D. That was the little Salve plug that we were given earlier. We're gonna get to him. I think I want to go with Will LaBelle.
Okay,
who played on the?
He played with Peters.
And and these aren't shots at the Wolves, but both of them played for the Wolves.
Ooh.
And then went to the Express. But Andrew Trimble brought it up in their interview. He mentioned how the Wolves program has grown to a point where players like Peters and LaBelle, who spent a year there and then went to Walpole, those kids aren't doing that now. And they've been able to retain kids like Ricard Zelensky's, who's going back there for another season. So LaBelle put up 20 and 44 in the 16-17 year with the Wolves, and then put up 50 and 47 the next year with Walpole, and then, of course, now plays at Lake Forest College. So I think that helps continue with the variety of different schools that they've advanced to also.
Mm-hmm. Which we like. We like that a lot.
And that gives us one forward left, not counting potential utility that we get to later.
Well, kind of stuck because I was thinking,
do you want to go EHLP to EHL ladder?
Yes, let's get one of those. Let's get a Malandrucolo. Let's get a EHL commercial type player that we can show has climbed the rungs of the ladder properly at the right speed. And
so let me find the profile for you. We're gonna go with Brian Colburn.
There we go. He was another name I was actually just looking at. He was played with Peters. He was on which team?
The 17-18 team.
17-18, that's what it was, yeah.
And of course spent time with the EHLP and then moved on to the EHL. So that
They finished
rounds
1,
up.
2, 3 that year too. Peters, LaBelle, Colburn, 85, 50, 47 points respectively.
Yep. So that gets us to the D now. And we mentioned earlier Dylan Carabia, who was the defenseman of the year. I got to figure out what year that was now. All the years just mushed together in my brain.
Especially with these, once you get to these teams that have been around for almost a decade, you're like, oh, yeah. Because now we're all like, oh, yeah, I feel old now. Like, what?
Literally almost a decade.
Yeah. Yep.
It was the defenseman of the year 16-17, which he spent actually 3 seasons with Walpole if you include the Met League year the year before. But that 16-17 year was far and away his best. He put up 42 points in 50 games.
He was a captain too, so that's
as a defenseman. Moved on to Salve, part of that team that we've mentioned a few times here that advanced to the national championship game.
Were him, Aruzioni, and Lipa all in that same national championship game?
All on that same team. Yep.
Wow, look at that.
So now
3 red train.
I know it's not a huge sample size, but Todd Philibert was so good this past
I was going to
year.
ask you about that.
Like he was so good.
He was an NA guy that became a free agent. And then, he was in Canada at the time, right? Because he was another one too that had kind of a weird entry into the US.
I think he was trying to go to Canada.
Or that's what it was.
He's
a Canadian native and he couldn't get into Canada. That's what it was. Okay.
Yes. So
he was dynamite on the power play, and he was really good for them in the 2 series in the playoffs. Can move the puck really well, can shoot really well.
So I know that it's only 18 games with the team, but he instantly was one of the top 5 defensemen in the league.
Yeah, he was a game changer. Absolutely. He gave them a different look on the back end. Helped out with, Roro Too Smooth was one of their big defensemen all year, and then kind of helped give them another anchor back there. And then actually, speaking of the NA, another one, Cal Mel, right, Neil? That was the Express, and then jumped up to the Janesville Jets to go play in the NA. So he's another one that you like to see that. Had a couple of years in Walpole.
As Cody mentioned, he's starting to get calls from some Division I teams, so got to keep an eye on that for the future. The 1 year with Walpole, he had 29 and 46. There was another D that I just saw that stood out to me, and I jumped over it. Ryan Campbell. No relation.
That disclaimer out there.
But he spent a season with the Express 17-18 and then went on to Babson. So let's put Ryan Campbell on this list. That keeps the variety going too of all the different schools these kids have gone on to. And then we kind of have to start.
He keeps that theme of PIMS guys too, Neil. I see that's triple digits for Mr. Campbell there. 103 penalty minutes.
He was tough, man. He was tough. He didn't back down from anyone, and he finished some hard hits. And that gives us already 4D just like that. In Carabia, Philibert, Mel, and Campbell. Going back to my very, very first year, Zach Feldman was excellent in 2015-16. So I think I want to include him on this list.
Throw him on the board. Zach Feldman for the win.
And
one more D left.
It's crazy. We did the D fast.
That was fast. They've had some really good ones, so it was kind of just.
We can go with Kyle Moss, who moved on to Connecticut College after a few seasons with Walpole. We got Ian Mendezoon on here. Is related to
Jake. Yes, that's right.
They're brothers. Ian's a tower. Ready for his height? Like 6'5". Like he was a tower. Moved on and played his full career out at Nazareth. Chris Gratton was rock solid before moving on to play at Potsdam.
Yep.
We talked about Cal Mel already. There's so many good options. Romeo Terrain. You know what? I think we got to go there.
Right?
I think we got to go there.
Fantasy guy for me, Romeo Terrain.
And now we get to the toughest part.
And this is where I love Walpole Express goaltenders, because in the 2 years we've had fantasy, I've had both Mr. Tobias Falconstead and Mason, don't call me Arnold, Palmer. And you had Mr. Eric, don't call me Clay Buckles.
Yes, and I put Cody on the spot, and I said, you got a 1-game playoff to win. Which one are you picking? And he didn't pick one. He just commented on how each one is different in their own way, calm between the pipes, and he could win with any one of the three of them.
Great answer, Coach. Great answer. Mason's going to play for the Milwaukee School of Engineering. That's where he's moving on to.
And he actually set a record for single season save percentage this past year in Walpole Express history.
Oof.
Right? So
almost around 95% of the pucks he saw, he stopped.
His 942 is the best save percentage in the history of the Express.
Damn. It has to be up there for like the league too. 942 that's like,
you know what? Let's do
otherworldly.
Let's go right here.
I know we've had some really good goalies, but that's got to be. Let's see. As we bring up the all-time list.
Oh no, I got to go through elite prospects. That's what it was. I'll find it. But I think Palmer's got to be one of the goalies.
Right. I mean, they had some other guys too. Like they had Rodericks was on there for a couple of years.
Oh my God, I forgot about Connor Rodericks.
Remember Connor Rodericks and Max Flynn was another one that was a multi-year okay goalie. So you got a couple of guys. So you got story time for Rodericks?
No, for Flynn. We used to laugh like crazy because his Instagram name used to be DJ Diabetes.
What? DJ Diabetes?
Dude, it was I every time I saw it, I would crack up. We didn't even mention
the story behind that, or do we know?
I don't even know. Maybe I don't know if he had diabetes. We're not laughing at that. It was just funny that like that was his thing, right? Like we didn't even just mention. We mentioned Rodericks, Falkenstadt, Palmer. What about Evan McCarthy, who went on to play Division I at Miami of Ohio?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Miami of Ohio is they're a serious Division I school.
It's tough, man. This is tough. And you mentioned Brian Patricia's name earlier, right? With the utility. How do we not pick 3 goalies?
This is true. We could go Falcon, Palmer, Buckholes. We could go. I feel like Falcon, Palmer have to be in the Falcon, obviously. Tobias Falkenstead for everyone at home not following along. But you have to go Falkenstead, Palmer, and then what? Rodericks, Buckholes, rocks, paper, scissors, shoot for utility.
I think I want to go Falkenstadt, Palmer, Rodericks. And
Palmer, Rodericks. All right, I like that.
Rodericks.
Doesn't Bucky have another year of eligibility, or no? He's done.
He actually does, but he's going to Riviera instead. Like some of these kids could come back, but that, like we've always mentioned in this podcast, they want to go now, and you can't fault them for that. And Rodericks just finished his collegiate career at Connecticut College, and what stands out the most from his time there, 2017-18 NESCAC Player of the Year, like the best player in the entire NESCAC. So we kind of have to include him.
Yeah, kind of necessary.
So we got Tobias Falkenstadt, Mason Palmer, and we're leaving Brian Patricia off this list. It's tough, but there's only so many spots, right? So we got to go Connor Rodericks, and that rounds things out. And of all the lineups that we've done, this rivals any of them. It has to.
Yeah.
The forward unit is Chris Peters, Frankie Cephalou, Zach Simon, my boy, Lorenzo Marcolin, Jeff's boy.
My boy.
Danny Ruzioni, Larry Nyland, Eric Lipa, Kaiser Ray, Jonah Hildreth, Tim Lopez, Will LaBelle, Brian Colburn, defensive core of Dylan Carabia, Todd Philibert, Cal Mel, Ryan Campbell, Zach Feldman, and Romeo Terrain. That group is really good. And then the goaltending, like these 3 are stellar. Tobias Falkenstadt, Mason Palmer, and Connor Rodericks. Rodericks almost willed his team in 2016-17 to the EHL finals. That was 2015-16 was the year that the Bandits with Todd Sterling were like the top team. but they couldn't beat Walpole, right? And Walpole found a way all the way to the semifinals. And I remember they faced like the Little Flyers or something. And Roderick's had like 40-something saves in each game. Like he did everything that he could. And then, of course, as we mentioned, went on to college and became the NESCAC Player of the Year. This roster is so good.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll go up there against. I mean, yeah, all these teams that we've done have been good. This versus like another OG Boston Junior Rangers kind of. And these two have become big rivals in the past couple of years. That would be
friendly rivals, right?
Imagine that. You get the goalies versus goalies, forwards. Yeah, we'd have to. I don't know. Maybe that's some wrinkle we could work out in the future of having the all-star alumni teams play against each other. That'd be something fun.
Could you imagine? That would be pretty awesome. So that will do it for the Walpole Express this week. Coming up next week, I've dealt with enough harassment through text that I haven't picked this team yet. We're going to have the New Hampshire Avalanche next week.
I was going to say, so you're someone that lives 6 minutes from your house? I could probably guess. Well,
I am
You live 6 minutes from his house.
I am his neighbor. Let's make this very clear.
That's right.
I moved into his territory.
Yep. You live 6 minutes from his house.
Yes.
He doesn't live 6 minutes from your house, Neil. Get it right.
Yes. So Walpole Express this week, New Hampshire Avalanche next week, and we'll talk to you then, Jeff.
Sounds good, Neil. See you then, buddy.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.